Good afternoon. I have come here to tell you what to do, which is super popular with libertarians, I know. I have three things that I want you to do in order to succeed in this party, in order to have us succeed as a party. The three things are simple. I want you to show up, I want you to be nice, and then I want you to win. That's all I ask. It's not a hard job. And yet, it seems like sometimes we need to be reminded of the basics. Starting with showing up. I know that I'm in North Carolina and y'all have good barbecue here. But does anyone in the room know what a McRib is? Yeah. Show of hands. There's a man who knows a McRib. A McRib, for those who don't know, is a off and on sort of pressed pork barbecue flavored-ish sandwich that McDonald's puts out. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. You never know when they're going to release the McRib. It's not like a Shamrock Shake where it's always in one season. It just shows up on the menu that one time you go into the McDonald's, and people are kind of excited if that's your thing. Does anyone in the room know what a Big Mac is? Big Mac is the most popular and most widely sold sandwich in the world for decades. It is the staple of the menu. It is always there in every McDonald's, no matter where you go, when you go, you can get a Big Mac. You can't always get a McRib. For too long, the Libertarian Party has been the McRib of politics, where if you go into the voting booth and you look at your ballot, hey, there's a Libertarian there. That's neat. There wasn't last time. There's only one for this office. There's not one for this other office. Maybe next time there'll be a Libertarian. Maybe I'll still want to vote Libertarian next time when there is a Libertarian. We need to stop being the McRib of politics. We need to start showing up. And in states like North Carolina, where you have relatively easy access to the ballot, relatively easy, comparatively, there is no excuse for not running a Libertarian in every election that you possibly can. Now, what a lot of people say, and we have this debate sometimes at the national level, sometimes at the state level, is that we shouldn't run all those candidates because they won't all win. And that's the wrong way to look at it. That's the wrong way to approach this issue. The job of a political party is similar to the job of a professional sports team. No matter how bad you are as an NFL team, and there are some bad ones, even if you're the Detroit Lions and you've gone 12 games and you have not won a single game, every single player for that team still suits up and shows up and goes out on the field to lose that 13th game. They do it because their job is not just to win the game. Their job is to represent their team. Their job is to show up and play the game no matter what. They may not win all the games, but they show up to all of them. And your job as libertarians is to show up to the game, every game, no matter what. No matter what. Because there's a wasted vote problem that we have. And it's not the one you're thinking of. Every day, there are people out there. There are people out there who are not libertarians yet, who get to the point where they're fed up, where they're done. They're not going to vote for a Republican or a Democrat ever again. No more. And they walk into that voting booth, and they pick up that ballot, and they want to vote for a Libertarian. And there's no Libertarian there. That is a wasted vote. That is a shame and a tragedy. And that is what we need to stop. We need to show people that we as a political party are serious about showing up and being there as an option when they decide that instead of having the old parties pick and choose, you can have these freedoms as long as you let us control this part of your life, or you can have these freedoms as long as you let us control this part of your life. When they finally decide that what they want is the freedom to control all of their life, we're there. We show up and we collect those votes, and they don't get wasted. Votes are like rain. They hit the roof, they go down the gutter. You can either let it go out into the yard or you can put a rain barrel there. And every single one of you who after today is going to run out and file your nominating papers, you're like the rain barrel to catch those libertarian votes. Your job as a libertarian candidate when you run for office is to make sure that your fellow citizens, your fellow North Carolinians have the option to vote libertarian. Someone with the uniform of their team is going to show up on that field every single game, no matter what. And the National Party is trying to support this in any way we can. We have a goal to have over 1,000 candidates across the country in 2016. We're working on candidate training materials. We're developing ways to help our candidates be more successful at running for office. We're not going anywhere. The Libertarian Party is not going anywhere. We're one of only 3 political parties that I'm aware of that actually owns our own headquarters. We're not a fly-by-night operation. But if we don't start showing up every election, every office, people won't recognize that we are a legitimate option. Now, after you show up, you have to be nice. There's it seems like this topic keeps coming up over and over again. Michael Cloud talks about it when he talks about Macho Flash. Sheldon Richman talks about it. It was talked about at libertarian conventions going back to the 70s, that a lot of libertarians are so focused on being right that they go out of their way to find points of disagreement with other people and to hear themselves be right. And that's the most important thing. It's more important to be nice. It is much easier for me to take somebody who is a nice person, who is a good person, who's just on the edge of the libertarian quadrant of the Nolan chart, and make them more libertarian than it is for me to take somebody who's mean and is right up there at the top and get them to stop being a mean person. People don't want to vote for candidates or be part of a party of mean people. The reason the Republican Party is gut-shot and dying right now is because they've staked out positions on issues that are mean. Their position on marriage equality affects people's families. It affects, they know a cousin or a brother or a friend or themselves who's being told that they can't love who they love, they can't have the same protection under the law by the Republicans. And no matter how much they want to keep the money in their pocket, no matter how much they want to keep their guns, they are not going to join a party full of bigots and mean people. So if we want to bring in those people, we can't be the party full of mean people. We have a tendency in the Libertarian Party to take sales and flip it on its head. If I'm trying to sell you something and you like 2 out of the 10 things about that product, I talk about 2 out of the 10 things. The 2 that you like are the only thing I talk about. I don't tell you about the sun visors because you don't care. I don't tell you about the color because you don't care. You may not even like the color. I focus on what you like. And as libertarians, I've heard too many times at conventions or meetings or gatherings like this, you hear these conversations. Well, do you agree with me on this? Yeah. Do you agree with me on this? Yeah. Well, do you agree with me on this? Yeah. Well, what about guns? No, I don't really like guns. Statist. You're a jerk. Get out of here. You're not a real libertarian. Go back to your old party. That's entirely wrong. We need to, as a party, look for points of agreement with those people who have not realized that they're libertarians yet and welcome them in. and not try and indoctrinate them and not try and force them to fit into the mold of libertarianism that we grew up with or that, the direction that we came from. We need to say, thank you. Thank you for looking for a new option. Thank you for these things that we agree on. Thank you for helping. Thank you for caring about wanting a better country and a better state. Thank you for being a part of this. And don't talk about the areas of disagreement. Don't get into fights with people. There's a saying from Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks about leadership, that good leaders create followers, but great leaders create other leaders. We are a young party, but we are an old party. We need to develop a new generation of leaders in this party. We need to develop a generation of leaders who are young and dynamic and vibrant and diverse. We need to attract more people of color. We need to attract people from communities that we don't typically reach out to. And the only way to do that is to be nice and to actually reach out and go outside our comfort zones and go talk to people who don't agree with us on everything yet and find that point to start a conversation about what we agree on. We can work with the ACLU on voting rights. We can work with the Green Party on drug legalization. We can work with people on these issues, and they may find that they really are libertarians. And as long as we've been nice about it, they'll come in. But we have this choice in our party. When you have young people, two things you can do with the young. You can either build them up, or you can eat them. And for too long, we've been sort of doing the circular firing squad, where as soon as somebody starts coming up, you just stab them right in the back, and they don't feel welcome anymore. We need to stop that. We need to stop it. We need to be nice to each other. Because we are not a big enough party yet. We're not a big enough party. We don't have the money, the power, the favors. All we have is attitude. All we have are our principles. All we have is how we treat other people. So be nice. What was the third thing? Oh yeah, winning. Winning, I want you to go out and win. And I want you to go out and win maybe in a different way than you've been thinking about it. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus says that everything in life has two handles. There's the handle by which it can be borne and the handle by which it cannot be borne. If it helps you, if you're a visual person, imagine you have a coffee cup with two handles and one of them is covered in razor blades. If you keep picking up that razor blade handle, you're going to get cut and you're not going to be able to hold the cup. And you have another handle that's just soft and gentle and squishy and it just feels so good in your hand and it's shaped like your hand and you can hold that cup forever. For too long, we have defined winning in the way that the old parties want to define winning in order to discourage us and make us quit. We've defined winning as, did you get 50% plus one of the vote in a two-way race? Or did you get 33% plus one in the vote in a three-way race? Did you get to sit in the office that you ran for? And if you didn't do that, you didn't win. You're a loser. You lost. You suck. And they want you to define winning that way because they want you to quit. And what was the first thing I talked about?
Show up.
Show up. And if you're quitting, are you showing up? No, you are not. So stop picking up the handle of running for office that's covered in razor blades. And you pick up the handle of suiting up for your favorite team. The team that you believe in, the team that's going to make this country a better country for your children and your grandchildren. And you put on that jersey and you go out there and you make sure that everyone who wants to vote for a libertarian has a libertarian option. That everyone who's not a libertarian yet, when they're ready to come home to the only party that believes in all of your freedom all of the time, they have a libertarian option. And you're proud to wear that jersey. And you're proud to go back on that field every single time until one day the scoreboard will reflect what's in your heart. that you won. Every one of you who runs for office is a winner. Every one of you who works hard to come to these conventions, to put on these conventions, to make a better country, you're winners. You have to pick it up by that handle and hold it high. You're winners. We have to remember that we are a small, vibrant, principled political party. We're not an old party. We don't play the game by their rules. Malcolm X once said, "I just don't believe that when people are being unjustly oppressed, that they should let someone else set rules for them by which they can come out from under that oppression." You do not have to play by their rules, and you should not play by their rules because their rules are rigged and they cheat with both hands. They fight us at every turn to keep us out of the public sphere, off of the ballot, and we won't take it. And we won't play their game the way they want us to play. Go out there and win. Now, there are opportunities you have here in North Carolina for winning. The biggest one, that I've heard about over the weekend is cannabis reform. That's huge. You have an entire committee in your state house unanimously kill medical marijuana. Not recreational marijuana like Colorado and Washington and Oregon and other states as they keep trickling in. Medical marijuana. That's the law in, I think it's over 30 states now. It's at least in the high 20s. Not a single vote from either a Republican or a Democrat to move that forward. Not a single vote. As libertarians, we have an opportunity to take these issues where the people, you may remember them, they're the ones that the politicians are supposed to serve, are way over here, and they want some freedom. And all the old party politicians are way over here, and they don't want to give them any freedom. When we're over here with the people, that's when we win. Marijuana legalization passed in Colorado with more votes than Barack Obama won the presidency. Pot's more popular than the sitting president. For real, guys. And you have these old party politicians who literally are so attached to the idea of putting someone in a cage for what they put into their own body that they can't see where the people are. It's like the old hockey thing. We skate to where the puck's gonna be, not to where the puck is. Don't play the game by their rules. Get out in front of this issue. Make it a freedom issue. Make it a criminal justice issue. Make it an issue that we should have no more incidents like the tragedy in South Carolina, where as part of the militarization and the war on drugs and the way that, law enforcement is just so amped up all the time, a police officer shot at a man 8 times. He only hit him with 5. I was corrected today. Brutally murdering him over a busted taillight. Don't think that that whole thing isn't all wrapped up in the war on drugs. Lots of people smoke pot, but it's primarily poor and people of color who get arrested for smoking pot, who then can't get a job because they smoke pot, who have to live in a cage because they smoke pot, who get their kids taken away because they smoke pot. People say that libertarians are just Republicans that want to smoke dope. That's not true. Plenty of Republicans smoke dope. Libertarians are people who don't want to put other people in cages for smoking dope. That's the difference. It's not about us, it's about other people. And I love your bumper sticker that's out there on that table. People, not politics. We need to show people how much we care as a party. We need to lose the image of a party full of prickly, irascible, old white people. Not that I don't love a lot of prickly, irascible, old white people, but we don't grow a party through subtraction. We don't grow a party by saying to everybody who comes in the door, well, should we kick you back out? We grow a party by being inviting and welcoming and letting people in.
Amen.
It's not Sunday yet. But while you want to talk about preaching and telling, there is a good lesson we can learn from the teachings of Christianity. And it goes back to the being nice. As libertarians, we believe in freedom. We believe that we don't know the best way that someone else should pursue their own happiness. We need to live that witness. We need to stop talking about it, and we need to start showing people about how much we care about our fellow man. None of us do this because we don't care. I didn't take time away from my 3 little kids because I don't care about other people, because I hate the poor, because pick your stereotype about libertarians. I took time away from them because I want them to grow up in a freer country than I grew up in. And I want my grandchildren, when they eventually... I don't even want to think about that. I want everybody's children to grow up in a freer country. And I believe that the Libertarian Party is the best way to do that. And that if we show up and we be nice, that we will win. So please, I know you don't like being told what to do. But when this weekend's over, I want you to go out there. I want you to show up. I want you to be nice. And I want you to win. Thank you. Somebody's got to give me some questions. If I don't get questions, I'll be sad. Yes, Barbara.
You made the comment, don't play by their rules. But essentially, in electoral politics, you have to play by the rules. And Republicans and Democrats are making it.
Right.
And in North Carolina, they make it. You said relatively easy ballot access because we had it current. But
Right.
if you don't get 2% of the vote in the gubernatorial,
Then you're absolutely screwed.
I think we're forever screwed. I don't think anybody in North Carolina, unless they get a sugar daddy that's got a bucket load of cash.
Right, you need what, 87,000 valid signatures, which, yeah, which is order of magnitude 200 grand, 300 grand worth of work. Yeah.
The rules are stacked against you.
Yeah.
I mean, to participate in electoral politics.
Right.
So,
Well, but here's the, when I say don't play by their rules, I don't mean I want you to go out there and break the laws. At least not all of them. Break as many as you feel comfortable with, but don't break all of them. Don't get caught, at least. If you do get caught, I used to do that for a living. When I say don't play by their rules, when I was a public defender, the most liberating cases for you as a lawyer are the ones, I mean, frankly, like the thing that happened in South Carolina, where you have just incontrovertible evidence that is not good for your client, and there's really nothing going to happen that's good for your client, and there's no plea offer coming for your client, and you just got to go, do your damn job. That is so freeing, because at that point, you are unbound by rules. You have literally nothing to lose. If you make a creative argument and you lose that motion, what's going to happen? Well, your client's still going to go to jail. If you get extra hearings, what's going to happen? Your client's still going to go to jail. If you get really good witnesses in and you make some points, your client's still going to go to jail. We are a small party, and it is not usual that we make it into the offices that we seek. When I say don't play by the rules, I mean you don't have to play by the rules of what's acceptable political discourse. You don't have to play nice with the Republicans and the Democrats. You don't have to say, well, They want to argue over, should we have a 2% tax hike or a 5% tax hike? You don't have to do that. Say no, just give them their money back. All of it. Give it all back. That's what I mean by don't play by the rules, is that we don't have to pick our policy positions to be careful. The beauty of where we are at, take the immigration issue, right? Libertarians support human migration as an economic and human liberty issue. We aren't beholden to border guards. We're not beholden to the organized labor that doesn't want lower paid workers coming into the country. We're not beholden to the conservative wing of the GOP that wants to kind of put a giant fence up on the border. We don't owe those people any favors. So we can actually defend human freedom, and we don't have to be careful or choose our words like, oh, certain people running for a nomination in one of the old political parties that may have changed some of their rhetoric over time. Can't think of the name. So that's what I mean, don't play by the rules. But yeah, you still gotta file your paperwork, you still gotta get your 2%. I heard you're not running again. For that office, is what I heard. That's what I heard was you're not running again for that office.
Well, that's true.
Does anyone have any other questions? Yes, sir.
Are there any tactics that the Free State Project that they've been using that we could learn from, or that we could use?
Yes. What the Free State Project has done, for those who aren't familiar with it, it's a project where libertarian-leaning individuals all move to New Hampshire and kind of try and change that state from within. New Hampshire was chosen because there's not as much changing that has to be done to make New Hampshire libertarian.
The license plate's good.
The license plate's good. See, they're already done with that one.
If there must be license.
If there must be license plates. It's the old Dallas Accord, where license plates exist. What they've done is they've actually gone and gotten involved. You get involved in your local politics. You run for office. You write letters to the editor. And they've also done something that's something the Libertarian Party hasn't done as well as we probably should, is they fostered this sense of community. The Free Staters have a very well-organized but not sort of top-down controlled network of businesses and individuals that do services and mutual aid societies and all of these things that are more like traditional America, than what you would think of, where neighbors help neighbors. And I think that as a party we need to do more of that. I want to hear more stories about things like in Louisiana, there was a party member whose barn burned down and they didn't have any insurance on their barn. And so the local Libertarian Party just went and did a barn raising. They rebuilt a barn for their fellow citizens because they're nice. That's what being a libertarian means to me. And that's what I think we should show people being a libertarian should mean to them. And I think when we show people that that's what being a libertarian means, more people will be interested in being libertarians. Other questions? Mr. Bailey. And then
I was a little curious how the National Party looks upon North Carolina. I'd almost where we rank amongst the 50 states as far as activism or success and stuff. However, even more important than that, I would like you to address what other states are doing that are working for them. You talked a little bit about New Hampshire there. Tell us some other states. What are they doing?
As far as how North Carolina is doing, you guys are doing awesome. I mean, honestly, this is, from all the interactions I've had over this weekend, y'all already are being nice. Y'all already are affiliated or organized in 21 of the 100 counties, and 2/3 of the registered libertarians in the state have an active local party that they can be a part of. So you're already doing that. You run candidates for office. Not as many as I like, but you run quite a few. So you're doing pretty awesome compared to the other states. What some of the other states are doing that works, Texas, for the last 1, 2, maybe 3 election cycles, has contested every single office. Every partisan office on the ballot, up or down, usually it's on the order of magnitude 150, 160 candidates, has a libertarian running. And there's something beautiful about that. because there are a lot of places where the old parties are quitters. There are a lot of old party politicians who are lazy. And, you know, even if they espouse Republican or Democratic values, they don't want to run in, you know, a liberal stronghold as a Republican because they're not going to win. Because they still see politics, they pick it up by the razor blade handle and it hurts. We can show the voters that we're going to go out there and we're going to fight for their liberty, even if we're not necessarily going to win that election. And that's what the Texas Libertarian Party has done, is by cycle after cycle showing up in elections where the Democrats won't even field somebody, the Republicans won't even field somebody. It's old party politician versus libertarian. Two-way races where the issues are focused on and we can clearly differentiate ourselves. And there's a thing about branding, that people have to see something over and over and over before they understand it's an acceptable choice. And so if every single ballot all the time always has libertarian, that's a thing that you might choose. That's a choice for you. You know, if J random party shows up once and then you don't see it again for 10 years and then it's back again, you might be skeptical. It would be, you would need to be an early adopter to want to do that. But if you see libertarians all the time, and remember this, when you run for office as a libertarian, you get more press, more free advertising than you could ever buy. The National Director, Wes Benedict, did a Google News search of his name and my name and a couple other names. This was back in last fall. And order of magnitude, couple hundred hits, right? He did a Google News search for Sean Hall. Order of magnitude, something like 600, 700,000 hits. Like just a ridiculous number of news hits. Because when you run for office, you are news. And no matter how much the media may not really like to cover us, if you're the only other candidate in the race, it's hard for them to ignore you. And everybody sees that. You know, Scott Spencer, libertarian, all the time. Libertarian, 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 libertarian. People realize that it's okay to be libertarian, that that is normal. You know, and that sort of segs into something you didn't ask, but I want to say it anyway. One of the things that I'm trying to do as chair is position our party as the serious party, as the only political adults in the room. That the actual, for a long time, libertarians have been tagged as fringy, or, you know, you guys want to legalize all drugs and that's crazy, and, you know, you want to give heroin to little kids and that's crazy. We need to turn that right on its head and say, libertarians believe that, one, it doesn't work, two, it costs too much money to throw people in a cage for making bad choices about what they put into their own bodies. It's immoral, it's expensive, and it's wrong. And the fringe belief is that taking something and putting it in your body is something that I have a right to put you in a cage over. The fringe belief is the idea that somehow we can criminalize an entire generation of African American men and then expect people to come up out of poverty. The fringe belief is to say that the fringe belief is the one that says that making bad choices should be something that's illegal. And we're the only serious party because we have a serious solution. I had lots of clients that were, you know, addicted to meth. Meth is its own punishment. I've never seen a single one of them be helped by having spent some time in jail. They never seemed like they were doing any better. I've never seen a single one of them helped by having a probation officer looking over their shoulder for them to screw up so they can be put back in jail. I don't think it's a good idea to drink a bottle of Windex. It's probably not healthy. I don't think it's my business if you want to do that. And I don't think it's the government's business. And that's the same rational adult position. And the fringe position is the opposite. And we need to go out and bring that fight to them. Next question. Mr. Hessel and then Mr. Summerall.
I just have a tactical question, not a philosophical question. We have in North Carolina a candidate who's announced already for governor in 2016, actually announced in December of last year, way in advance.
Is he here?
He's unfortunately wasn't able to make it because of some medical situation, but we do have a message for him that we're going to be playing a little bit later. And so I'm wondering at this point how things are looking on the national level for 2016.
As far as so at this point there are 4 candidates who have announced that they're seeking our nomination. Dr. Mark Allen Feldman from Ohio. He is currently an alternate on the Libertarian National Committee. He's chair of anesthesiology at the Cleveland Clinic, I think.
Is he the guy that did the video in his kitchen?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know whether or not he did the video. He might. There's Daryl Perry, who's an activist. I think he's up in New Hampshire now. There's Cecil Anthony Ince, who I don't know very much about. And there's Steve Kerbel from Colorado, who I also don't know very much about. And there's Gary Johnson, who has said that he hopes to run, that he'd like to run, and a lot of the things that you say before you want to actually put yourself in a position of being an announced candidate for office with the FEC implications that that holds. So that's to my knowledge, the state of the race. Does that answer your question? All right.
There was somebody on Lou Rockwell podcast a month ago saying that he might show up at the convention and ask for support. The guy who's the governor of Minnesota.
I have heard the rumor that Jesse Ventura might want our nomination. He's also indicated that he would not join the party and that he just wants our ballot access and he wouldn't use the word libertarian. So, he is welcome to come to Orlando in 2016 and seek our nomination and see how all of the convention delegates feel about those stipulations and whether or not they're excited to do that. And if the delegates should choose to do so, then I will choose to do everything I can to support him. But I would be surprised if that was an effective strategy to get our nomination. Just from having attended a national convention or two. JJ.
Yeah, just an observation. Tom's question about where North Carolina ranked amongst all the states, whatever, however you rank them. The other side of that coin is what the state, how the state chairs rank what national does. You know, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And in some of those email threads, there's a lot of criticism, but this ought to be done a different way, and this is a different way. But it seems to me,
criticism of the national office.
Imagine that. But it seems to me all these states.
Check my email again.
All these state chairs will never have a really strong national party until we have really strong state parties. And most of the people in my position need to focus on their states and not be telling national what to do.
I would agree with you. Here's how I see the position of national in the states, and this is party history a little bit, but it has long been sort of a fractious, you pick one or the other kind of relationship between national and the states. There have been people in state parties who say, don't give any of your money to national, they're just going to waste it on goofy things and keep it in the states, and there are other people who say, well, I give money to national, and my state parties run terribly or doesn't exist or whatever, give all the money to national. I don't believe in a static pie. I think that economics has pretty definitively said that these pies are not necessarily static, that it's not a fixed pool of dollars, and that we should cooperate as much as we can. One of the goals that the National Party adopted for this term is to have effective and operational state affiliates in all 50 states by June of this year. And we have now a working affiliate support committee that actually contacts the state chairs and asks what we could do to help. And then to the extent that we can do it and it doesn't get us in trouble with the feds, I'm committed that we'll help in any way we can. That's why I travel to state conventions. I will go to as many state conventions as I can, as long as I can see my kids sometimes. I really, all of politics is local, all politics is individual, and all of it's done at the state level. National only nominates 2 people every 4 years, like 2. And we want the states to run thousands of candidates. So we need to help the state parties have the tools that they need I appreciate constructive criticism, and I accept non-constructive criticism, and I try and accept it as charitably as I can, because I do try and be nice. I do. And it's helpful when everyone else tries too, and I hope that the tone has changed a little bit. There is a point that brings up that I want to go to, because I have plenty of time, so I can do what I want. We are a party of individuals. We are the party of individuals. We're the party who respects individual rights. And one of the things that's important for a party of individuals that respects individual rights is that we treat other people like individuals, especially the people we don't agree with. That we be good to other people, even if they don't agree with us yet. And it's very easy to dehumanize your opponents. To say, well, all these libertarians in this room, they're my friends, and as soon as, you support gun control or whatever, you're just a statist. You're part of this block of statists. And we stop listening, and we don't hear what their actual concerns are, and we don't try and persuade. I can win arguments with people all day long. But if anyone else in the room is married, you never win an argument. There is no winning the argument. Tom Magliazzi, the guy from Car Talk who recently died, said in an interview once, my wife fights with me all the time, and she thinks I'm an idiot, and that I'm always wrong. I'm not always wrong, but I'm happy. Accept that you might be wrong sometimes. Leave debate sometimes with, well, I'll think about that. That might be a different way to look at it. I don't think, I agree with you right now, but thank you for talking to me. Be graceful. And be charitable. Be kind to your opponents. There's no need to be mean to anybody. Even people that we don't like. It's not necessary. Because remember, when you're in an argument, especially if you're in an argument in public, if you're in a debate, and this is for all you candidates, you're not talking to that other guy. You're not. You're talking to everyone else. You may have to phrase what you say so it sounds like you're talking to the other guy, but you're not talking to him. He doesn't agree with you. He's never going to agree with you. That's why he's running against you. But they might. The ones that aren't his relatives or, major donors to his campaign, they might. And one of the things that I've learned through 36-ish jury trials, the jury tends to vote when they go back in the jury room for who they think is right. And there's no faster way to lose a case that you shouldn't have lost than to piss off the jury. To treat them with disrespect, to treat a witness with disrespect, even if it's a witness that's hostile to your side. You can't be mean to people and expect to persuade. Next. Yes, sir.
So actually, I was having a conversation with another delegate here, and we came to the conclusion that everyone in this room were pretty much the exceptions to the libertarian rule, whereas libertarians have the mindset of, leave me alone, I don't want government, How would you overcome that idea or that concept of our beliefs that we get to show up? How would you come over that first stumbling block? What are some talking points you would use?
This is hard. So thank you, because I like hard questions better than easy ones. And I'll be on C-SPAN tomorrow morning with live phones. So this is a good practice. It's hard because as libertarians, I don't get to tell anybody what to do. I have this issue with the National Committee. There are people on the National Committee who have in the past behaved in ways that I don't like, but I don't get to fire anybody. I don't get to give orders. All I can do is persuade and set a tone. All I can do is ask. And that's what we have to do inside our party. The culture, I just did an interview with a religious magazine, and one of the questions the interviewer asked is, how do you square libertarianism with a Christian support for social justice? we have to create the culture of social justice and the culture of service, the idea that you should stand up and run for office because it's a thing that you should do for your fellow man. But that's not part of the libertarian philosophy. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing in Rothbard, or sure as hell as anything in Rand, that says that, you know, you have to go do something for somebody else. But it's what good people do. And while I respect people's rights to just, you know, be part of the Leave Me the Hell Alone caucus, I encourage people not to. I encourage people to step outside of the comfort zone that they have, where they feel, you know, I don't want to get involved in that, and do what they can. And maybe for you, it's not running for office. Maybe for you, it's helping someone else run for office. Maybe you're an introvert, but you're good with numbers. There's an entire bureaucratic apparatus that's set up to fine and or imprison our candidates if they screw up their reporting. And maybe you can help a candidate who's not good with numbers, but he's good with people, and kind of team up and be more than the sum of their parts. And that goes back to the relationship between national and the states, is it shouldn't be 1 and 1 should make 3. There should be some benefits to cooperation. We become bigger than we are separately. And that is hard to do in a party that's so individualistic and atomistic at times. But I think that if we can set an example, that's the best I can do. And if you can set an example, that's the best you can do. But if we all do our best, that we can probably change the culture of this party. Next question. Yes, sir.
I don't think you mentioned this guy running for president that I learned about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. He's from South Carolina, and I take no position for or against him.
What's his name?
Just inform you, he calls himself Keenan Wallace Dunham.
Yep, I didn't mention Keenan Dunham, but I did not mention him, but I have heard the name.
And I'm reading the bullet points from his plank. Restore civil liberties, 100% legalize cannabis, eliminate personal income tax, build green energy via leasing non-national park federal land, and colonize space for research into computing, cannabis, farming, space mining, and space energy sources.
Honestly, I'm pretty intrigued by space weed. That sounds cool. You know, it sounds like here's the thing. You know, that's another good stepping off point, and thank you for giving it to me. I see the role of the National Party as a message-setting role, and I intend to do what I can to control the message and to control the word libertarian, because it's our word, and we should control it. But I also see the role as a National Party chair, and the National Party is not to tell people in North Carolina or Texas who should run for office, is not to be the purity police and say you're not libertarian enough, because that would be pretty much the opposite of everything that I just said about being welcoming and trying to find points of agreement. But what I think that we need to do, and the balance we strike, is that you can have heterodox positions that are outside the platform, as long as you have the courtesy to say, this is what I believe as a candidate. It's different from what my party believes officially. That's all I ask. Just say it. Ron Paul did it in 1988. He was pro-life and the platform was not. And he would just tell people, this is my personal belief. I am the candidate. This is my position on this issue. The party feels differently. And then you leave it at that. That's all you have to say. You know, it comes back to I just read a really great biography, if any of you need something to read. It's called Rebbe, R-E-B-B-E, by Joseph Telushkin, about the late 7th Lubavitcher Rebbe, Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who died 10, 15 years ago. He would never say anything negative about another person with their name. He would never utter a negative word. He wouldn't even use the Hebrew word for hospital because it means house of the sick. He would call it a house of the healing, because that's the positive thing. Attack positions, don't attack people. He would talk about, you know, this position on this issue is wrong, but he would never say, you know, Rabbi so-and-so who has this position is wrong. And he would always try and find the good in other people. And that's what we need to do in order to have more people comfortable with running as libertarians, is not have these internal firing squads or sort of purity boards where Well, space weeds are not in our platform, and so now you can't be our candidate. Well, maybe you can. If the delegates are okay with it, then we can all be okay with it. Just relax. Have a little fun. Don't worry too much about all this stuff. Because, you know, it's a party. So let's have it be more of a party. Isn't that nice? I think I have time for a couple more questions. I'm very sensitive to time. But does anyone have any more questions for me? If not, then I'll let you all have a 10-minute break, because now, look, I'm running the show for a minute. And thank you so very much. And thank you for all you do.